The Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 28, Death, Dying, and Awakening in the Beyond. The Immortality of the Spirit. Thus saith the Lord. This is the era in which humanity awakens to the beauties of the Spirit, in which it becomes interested in the eternal and asks itself, what will the life that awaits us after death be like? Who, howsoever unbelieving, has not asked if something exists within himself that will survive in a material form? Truly, I tell you, there are none who do not sense that mystery or meditate in some moment on the unfathomable. Concerning the spiritual life that seems so far and is in reality before your very eyes, some ask, others confuse themselves, and others deny. Some speak, believing they know everything, while others stay silent and wait. Yet so few there are who really know something of the beyond. In the third era I have left the tomb of the forgotten in which humanity has held me, in order to resurrect humanity, for I am life. No one can die. Even the one who takes his life by his own hand will hear his conscience asking him to account for his lack of faith. My doctrine is not only for giving you strength and tranquility during your passage on earth. It is to teach you to leave this world, to pass the thresholds of the beyond, and enter the eternal mansion. All religions comfort the spirit in its passing through this world, but how little they reveal and prepare you for the journey to the beyond. That is why many look at death as an ending, not knowing that it is from there that you can see the infinite horizon of true life. Death is only a symbol. Death exists for those who do not achieve knowledge of the truth. For them, death continues as a spectre behind which is either mystery or nothing. It is to you that I say, open your eyes and understand that you also will not die. You will be separated from the material, but that does not mean that you will die. You, like your master, have eternal life. Preparation for departing from this world. You must understand that you, gifted with a spirit, are the Father's most beloved work in His creation. For in you He deposited essence, attributes, and immortality. Death does not exist for the spirit, not death as you know it, the ceasing of existence. The death of the body cannot be death or an ending for the spirit. It is precisely when the vessel closes its eyes to this world forever that the spirit opens its eyes to a higher life. It is only an instant of transition on the path that leads to perfection. If you have not yet understood it this way, it is because you still love this world much and you feel closely tied to it. It worries you to abandon this dwelling because you feel that you are the owners of what you possess in it. And there are also those who have a vague foreboding of my divine justice and fear to enter the spiritual veil. Humanity has loved this world too much. Too much because its love has been badly directed. How many have succumbed in it because of that? How greatly the spirits have become materialized for that same reason. Only when you have felt death's footsteps near you, when you have been gravely ill and suffering, when you think that you are only a step from the beyond, from that justice that you fear, only in those straits, do you make promises and pledges to the Father to love, serve, and obey Him on earth. Men have loved this life so much that when the time comes to depart from earth, they rebel against my will and ignore that I am calling them. They reject the peace of my kingdom and ask the Father for more time on earth in order to continue possessing their temporary riches. Learn to be sensitive, so that you will intuitively become aware of the spiritual life. Do not be satisfied with your life on earth, which marks the beginning of your spiritual evolution, because beyond this world there are superior creations. Do not try to reject death when it comes near to you because of my will. Also, you should not seek the man of science attempting to miraculously prolong your existence, thus opposing my will, for you will both weep bitterly over that error. Prepare yourself in this life, and you will have no reason to fear your entry into the beyond. While you are on earth, you should love the things of this world only to the degree that it will help you to fulfill its laws. But you should always be inspired to come to dwell in the elevated spiritual mansions, so that when your spirit separates from its material body, it will not be confused nor tempted by those things that it loved on earth. If it yields, it will become a slave to them and remain in this world, to which it no longer belongs nor can enjoy. Be merciful with yourselves. No one knows when the moment will come in which his spirit will separate from the flesh. No one knows if on the next day his eyes will open to the light. Everyone belongs to the Lord of all creation, and you do not know when you will be called. Remember that not even the hairs on your head belong to you, not even the ground that you tread upon, that you yourselves do not belong to you, that you do not need to have possessions of short duration, since your kingdom is also not of this world. Spiritualize yourselves, and you will possess everything within fairness and in measure according to your needs. And when the moment of your renunciation of this life arrives, you will elevate yourselves full of light to take possession of what belongs to you in the beyond. The passage to another world. At every moment my voice calls you toward the righteous path where peace exists, but your deaf ear has only an instant of sensitivity before that voice. That moment is the last one of your life, when agony gives you notice of the near death of the body. Then is when you want to begin your life to correct your faults, to calm down your spirit before the judgment of your conscience, and be able to offer something worthy and meritorious to the Father. If you seek immortality of the spirit, do not fear the arrival of the death that puts an end to human life. Await it prepared. It is under my command, and it is therefore always just and opportune, though men often believe otherwise. The seriousness is not in that men die, it is in the spirit lacking light upon leaving the material, and being unable to see the truth. I do not wish the death of the sinner, but his conversion. However, when death becomes necessary either to liberate the spirit or to stop a fall of a man into the abyss, my divine justice cuts the thread of that human existence. Be aware that in the book of your destiny, I have designated the day and the hour when the doors of the hereafter will open, allowing your spirit to enter. Once you have entered, you will see all of your work on earth and all of your past. You should not want, at that time, to hear voices of complaints and accusations against you nor those who point to you as responsible for their troubles. Do not halt, thinking that you will never arrive just because the road appears long. Keep moving forward, for a moment you lose your spirit will regret later. Who told you that the objective is in this world? Who has taught you that death is the end, and that you can reach my kingdom at that moment? Death is like a brief dream, after which, restored in strength, the spirit awakens to the caress of my light, as to the beginning of a new day for itself. Death is the key that opens the gates of the prison that you find yourselves in by being adhered to the material, and is at the same time the key that opens the doors to eternity. This planet, converted by human imperfections into a veil of atonement, has been a place of captivity and exile for the spirit. Truly, I tell you that life on earth is one step more on the ladder of life. Why do you not understand it in this way in order to take advantage of all your lessons? That is the reason why many must return to it, again and again, because they did not understand, nor make use of their previous life. It is necessary that you know that because the spirit is to be subjected to a long and sometimes difficult test. It had a vast preparation before being made flesh. However, thanks to that preparation, it is not disturbed by entering into this life. It closes its eyes to the past to open them to a new existence. And in this way, from the first instant adapts to the world to which it has arrived. How different indeed is the form in which your spirit presents itself before the threshold of the spiritual life, or when it has recently left its body and its world. As it has lacked real preparation for returning to its home, it feels disturbed. The sensations of the material still dominate, and it does not know where to go or what to do. This is because it did not learn that it is also necessary to know how to close the eyes to this world in the last instant. For it is only in this way that it can open them to the spiritual world that it had left before, where all its past awaited to be reunited with its new experience and add its new merits to all its previous ones. As he recovers the light, a dense veil clouds his mind. The tenacious influence of all he has left behind inhibits to feel the vibration of his conscience as the shadows fade, allowing him to reintegrate himself to his true essence. There is much confusion and much pain. Will there be any who upon hearing or reading this message reject it as useless or false lessons? I tell you that only he who is found in an extreme grade of materialism or blind fanaticism could reject this light without his spirit being moved. Eternal rest, spiritual rest, as it is understood and conceived of by your material world, does not exist. The rest awaiting the spirit is activity, multiplication of oneself through doing good, while not losing an instant. That is when the spirit rests. Its regrets and sorrows are lightened. It enjoys itself by doing good, and rests loving its creator and its brothers. Truly, I tell you, if the spirit were made to remain inactive to rest, in the way that you think of it on earth, darkness of depression and anguish would overcome it, for the life and light of the spirit, as well as its greatest happiness, are work, struggle, and unceasing activity. The spirit that returns from the earth to the spiritual valley, bearing imprinted on it is the fatigue of the flesh, and seeks the beyond as a bed to rest in, where it can sink into oblivion in order to wipe away the scars of the struggle, must come to feel itself most unfortunate, and will not encounter either peace or happiness until it awakens from its lethargy, recovers from its errors, and rises to the spiritual life, which is, as I have already described, love, work, and continual struggle on the path that leads to perfection. Re-encounters in the beyond. I want you to be men of faith, who believe in the spiritual life. If you have seen your brethren depart toward the hereafter, do not feel them distant, nor believe that you have lost them forever. If you wish to be reunited with them, be active, do good, and when you reach the hereafter, there you will find them waiting to teach you to live in that spiritual realm. Who has not felt uneasiness about the life of the hereafter? Who among those who have lost their dear ones in this world has not felt an eagerness to see them again, or at least know where they are? You will know all of this. You will see them again. But you should earn merits now, because it might be that, when you leave this earth, you will ask in the spiritual realm, where are those whom you expect to find, and you will be told that you cannot see them, because they are in a higher level. Do not forget that a long time ago I told you that in the house of the Father there are many mansions. The judgment of the spirit by its own conscience. When the spirit of some great sinner departs from this material life to enter the spiritual valley, it is surprised to discover that hell, as it had once imagined, does not exist, and the fire of which it was previously told is nothing more than the essence of its works harshly judged by its conscience. That eternal judgment and enlightenment which exists in the midst of the darkness that surround the sinner will be more painful than the strongest fire you could have imagined. But it is not a torture prepared beforehand as a punishment for the one who offended me. No, this torture originates when one begins to understand his own mistakes, when the spirit begins to feel great sorrow for having offended the one who created him, and for not having made better use of its time and of the many gifts it received from its Lord. Do you believe that I should punish those who by their sins offend me, when I know that the sin offends more he who commits it? Do you not see that who the sinner does evil to is himself, and that I will not increase the misfortune he has worked upon himself by punishing him? I merely allow them to see themselves, and hear the inexorable voice of their consciences interrogating and answering them, to recover the spiritual memory that in the material form they had lost, and to remember their beginnings, their destiny, and their promises. There, in that judgment, they will feel the effects of the fire that exterminates their evil, and that recasts them like gold in a crucible, separating them from that which is harmful or superfluous, and all that is not spiritual. When a spirit stops to listen to the voice, judgment of its conscience, verily I say to you, that at that moment it finds itself in my presence. That moment of rest, of serenity, and of clarity does not come to all spirits at the same time. Some readily enter into that self-examination, and in so doing avoid much grief. For while they awaken to reality and recognize their errors, they prepare themselves and are ready to repair even the last of their bad deeds. While others, blinded, beat by vice, by some resentment, or for having lived an existence of sin, delay coming out of their blindness. Others, more dissatisfied, believing they have been torn from the earth before time, when all smiles upon them, curse and blaspheme, delaying their ability to free themselves from confusion. And like these, there are a great number of cases that know only my wisdom. You shall have to answer for all, and the more evil your works, the more energetic the judgment you shall receive from yourself. For I do not judge you. That is false. It is your own spirit in its lucid state that serves as both your fearful prosecutor and your terrible judge. It is I who defend you against the confusion, and who absolve and save you, because I am the love that purifies and pardons. Think that very soon you will be in spirit, and that which on this earth you have sown will also be what you reap. The passing from this life to the other does not fail to be a strict and severe judgment for the spirit. None escape that judgment, even he who considers himself the worthiest of servants. My will is that from the moment you enter that infinite dwelling place, you cease to feel the anguishes of the earth, and begin to feel the sweetness and pleasure of having climbed another step on the path. The final judgment, as interpreted by humanity, is an error. My judgment will not be of an hour nor a day. It has weighed on you for some time. However, I tell you truly that the bodies of the deceased are dead, and have returned to integrate themselves in their own nature, for what is of the earth shall return to the earth, just as the spiritual shall seek its dwelling place, which is in my bosom. Yet I tell you also that in your judgment you will be your own judges, for your conscience, knowledge, and intuition will tell you to what point you are worthy and which spiritual dwelling you should inhabit. you will see clearly the road that you must take, for upon receiving the light of my divinity, you shall recognize your acts and judge your own merits. In the spiritual valley, there are many confused and disturbed beings. Bear my message and light to them when you enter there. You can practice that form of charity, starting now, by means of the prayer with which you can establish communication with them. Your voice will resonate in the place where they reside, and will make them awaken from their deep slumber. It will make them weep and cleanse themselves with their tears and repentance. In that instant, they will have received a ray of light, for in that moment they will understand their past vanities, their errors, and their sins. How great is the pain of the spirit when the conscience awakens it! How it then humbles itself under the gaze of its supreme judge! How humbly then spring from the intimate depths of its being petitions for forgiveness, promises, and blessings of my name. There, the spirit recognizes that it cannot approach the perfection of the Father, and directing its gaze to the earth, where it did not know how to make use of its time and the opportunity for it to come closer to its goal, asks for another period of flesh to atone for its faults and complete unfulfilled missions. Who then performed justice? Was it not the Spirit itself that formulated the judgment? My spirit is a mirror in which you must look at yourselves, and which will tell you the state of purity you maintain. When your spirit leaves its human shell, and in the sanctuary of the spiritual life recollects in its inner depths to examine its past and the results of it, many of its acts that here in the world had seemed perfect to it, worthy of being presented to the Lord and deserving of some reward, seem small in the instant of that meditation. The spirit will understand that the meaning of many acts that in the world seemed good to it were mere traces of vanity, of false love, of a charity not felt by the heart. Who do you believe has given to the spirit the enlightenment of a perfect judge in order to judge itself? The conscience, which at that hour of justice will seem to glow with a clarity never seen before, will be who tells each one which from its works on earth was good, just, real, and true, as well as what was evil, false, or impure that it sowed along the way. The sanctuary of which I have just told you is that of the conscience, that temple that none may profane, the temple in which God dwells, and from which his voice and his light issue. In the world, you have never known how to enter that inner sanctuary, for your human personality always seeks the way to evade that wise voice that speaks inside each man. I tell you that when your spirit puts aside its shell, it will finally be able to stop before the portal of that sanctuary to prepare itself to enter, and before that altar of the spirit, prostrate itself, listen to itself, examine its works in the light that comes from the conscience, and hear speaking within itself the voice of God, as Father, as Master, and as Judge. No mortal can imagine in its solemnity that moment through which each must pass in order to know what good you bear within, and how to conserve it, and that which you must reject because it cannot be carried any more within the spirit. When the spirit feels itself to be in front of its conscience, and the conscience makes itself present with the clarity of truth, that being feels without the strength to hear itself. It wished it had never existed, because in an instant all its life passes before its eyes, what it left behind, what it possessed, and what belonged to it, and that for which it must now finally account. Disciples, humanity, prepare yourselves in this life for that instant, so that when your spirit presents itself at the threshold of the temple of the conscience, you do not make of that temple a courtroom, for the spiritual pain would be so great that there is no physical pain comparable. I wish you to meditate on what I have said to you in this teaching, so that you understand how your judgment is carried out in the spiritual realm. In this way, you will vanquish the image that exists in your imagination of a courtroom presided over by God in the form of an old man, placing on his right his good children, so that they may enjoy heaven, and to his left the bad ones, so that they may be condemned to eternal punishment. It is time already that the light comes to the highest part of your spirit and your understanding, so that the truth may shine in each man, and he be prepared to enter the spiritual life with dignity. The spiritual conscience recovered. There is nothing in my creation like bodily death to show each spirit the height it reached during its life, nor anything like my word for ascending to perfection. There, you have the reason why my law and doctrine insist time and again in penetrating the hearts, and why the pain and the vicissitudes come counseling men to flee from the paths that, instead of raising them up, lead the spirit to the abyss. How fortunate your spirit will feel in the beyond if your conscience tells you that on earth you sowed the seed of love. All the past will make itself present before your eyes, and every image of your works will give you infinite pleasure. The precepts of my law, which your memory has not always known how to retain, will also pass through your spirit, full of clarity and light. Earn merits that will permit you to penetrate the unknown with your eyes open to truth. There are many mysteries that men have tried in vain to explain. Neither human intuition nor human science have been able to satisfy many of the questions asked by men. And the reason is that there is knowledge that is reserved only to the spirit that has penetrated to the veil of spirits. Those surprises that await it, those wonders, those revelations, shall be part of its prize. Yet, truly I tell you, if a spirit comes to the spiritual world with a blindfold over its eyes, it will see nothing, and continue to see before it only mysteries, where all should be clarity. This celestial doctrine that I bring you reveals many beauties, and prepares you so that when you present yourself in spirit before the justice of the eternal, you know how to confront the marvelous reality that will surround you from that instant. Receive my light so that it illuminates the road of your existence, and in the hour of your death frees you from confusion, and in an instant, as soon as you pass the portals of the beyond, you will know who you are, who you have been, and who you will be. While your bodies, which even after death continue to give nutriment and life, sink into the earth, into whose bosom they will be integrated to increase its fruitfulness, your conscience, which is over your being, shall not remain in the earth, but shall accompany the spirit, and be shown to it like a book, whose profound and wise lessons are to be studied by it. There your spiritual eyes shall open to the truth, and in an instant you will know how to interpret that which, in an entire life, you did not manage to understand. Then is when you will understand what it means to be a child of God and brother to your fellow men. That is when you will understand the value of all that you have possessed, and feel sorrow and repentance for the errors made, for the time lost, and the most beautiful purposes of reform and reparation will be born in you. From now on, you all travel toward the same end, reconciling and harmonizing your spiritual lives. Let none believe that they travel a better path than their brother, nor that they are on a higher rung of the ladder than others. I tell you, at the supreme hour of death, it shall be my voice that tells you the truth concerning your elevation. There, in that brief moment of illumination before the conscience, is where many receive their reward, but also where many see their greatness fade away. Do you desire to save yourselves? come to me on the road of brotherliness. It is the only one. There is no other. It is the one marked by the maxim, love one another.